Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year. Every year.
All right, welcome in everybody. This is going to be part 3 of the 2023 Offensive Weapons Projection Series for the Baltimore Ravens. This video is going to be about the running backs: J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and recently acquired Melvin Gordon. So I'm going to run through their stats fairly quickly for this one, and then we'll kind of get into a little bit more of a discussion towards the end of it. I'm not really going to get too much into the J.K. Dobbins and running back drama. That's probably something for a different video. And as far as Melvin Gordon, does he play into that? Probably a little bit. So we'll touch on that in another video. But getting to their numbers, J.K. Dobbins. We're going to do this one in a little bit of reverse. So I'm going to talk about their talk about their season last season, and then we're going to, or their stats last season, and then we're going to kind of talk about what I think they're going to be doing in this upcoming season. So a little Quentin Tarantino here. So last season, J.K. Dobbins played in 8 games. He had 92 rushing attempts for 520 yards, which is good enough for 5.7 yards per carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Gus Edwards played in 9 games last season. He had 87 rushing attempts for 433 rushing yards, which was 5 yards per carry, and 3 rushing touchdowns. Justice Hill played in 15 games. He had 49 rushing attempts for 262 rushing yards and 5.3 yards per carry, no rushing touchdowns. And Melvin Gordon for the Broncos last year had played in 10 games. He had 90 rushing attempts for 318 yards, which was 3.5 yards per carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. So going into what I expect them to do in this upcoming season, again, this is based on 17 games and what I think they're capable of in this offense. So J.K. Dobbins, he's the number 1 back, right? He's going to be in this offense the way that Nick Chubb sort of was for the Browns, right? They're not the same player, but I think they can be utilized in very similar ways. So J.K. Dobbins, for this season, I have him between 800 and 1,200 rushing yards, 300 to 400 receiving yards, 8 to 10 rushing touchdowns, and 4 to 5 receiving touchdowns. I think he's an everything back. I think he returns, to the 2020 form that he had, without Mark Ingram. He's going to be the guy, and he's going to be relied upon in this offense a lot. And I think he's going to do great if he can stay healthy, which, again, that's a line that people put on, players that have had injuries, but that's everybody. And that's everybody at this position, too. So I think that's part of the reason a lot of this running back market situation is occurring. But next up, Gus Edwards. I have him going between 500 and 800 rushing yards, 200 to 300 receiving yards, 4 to 5 rushing touchdowns, and 0 to 2 receiving touchdowns. I don't think he's going to be huge in the receiving game. I think he's going to be more of like a check down if you need him kind of guy. If he does get into the end zone in a receiving sense, I think it's going to mainly be from, he carries someone with him into the end zone. I don't think it's going to be he's going to go to the back of the end zone and go up for the pass. So, but I definitely see him being, as always, a very comparable number 2, running back in this offense. So, Justice Hill, I see him anywhere between 300 to 400 rushing yards, 2 to 300 receiving yards, 1 to 2 rushing touchdowns, and 1 to 2 receiving touchdowns. You see it kind of falls off from Gus Edwards to Justice Hill. Now, I will be the first to say that I was not a big Justice Hill fan. I thought he was a typical number 3 Ravens running back, where it's like we draft him, he stays on the team, does fairly little for the team, and then is let go at the end of his rookie contract. But Justice Hill, he is a difference maker on special teams, and I was very, very happy with how he played last season. I'm happy for him. I'm happy to be proven wrong, and I'm really excited for what I believe he's going to be doing to help out the receiving game and just be, again, a really viable backup for the rest of these guys. So getting into Melvin Gordon, I do have him from between 200 to 300 rushing yards, 100 to 150 receiving yards, and 0 to 1 rushing touchdowns, and 0 to 1 receiving touchdowns. Now, I'm well aware of his pass catching prowess. I do see him as a more receiving back than an actual running back. But I don't see Melvin Gordon having the impact on this team that I've heard other people mention. Now, I'm aware of the J.K. Dobbins situation, the ongoing situation. I just don't think Melvin Gordon has the stuff to be even the number 3 running back on this team. I think Justice Hill is better than him. And to be fair, the numbers sort of prove it. Beyond the actual pass catching aspect of it, which is why I'm saying I think he's more of a receiving back than a running back. If you need a running back, Gus Edwards is better than Melvin Gordon. He just flat out is. He played in 1 less game. He had 3 less rushing attempts. He had over 100 yards more than him. He had 1.5 yards per attempt more, or per rush more, and he had an extra touchdown. So I don't know why you would have Melvin Gordon in over Edwards unless it was a pass-catching situation. So maybe my receiving numbers for Melvin Gordon is a little bit low, but I just don't really see them using him very much. You know, I mean, he's a fumble machine, which it blows my mind that John Harbaugh would even be like, he either was not involved in that discussion at all, and DaCosta was like, we're going to bring in another back because the Dobbins situation is getting weird and we should have some depth. You know, I really want J.K. Dobbins to play. Like, the fan in me really wants him to play because just as some comparables, for the 2020 season for J.K. Dobbins, his receiving numbers, he had 18 receptions for 120 yards, which was good enough for 6.6 yards per reception. And in the Buffalo game in the playoffs that we did lose, he had 3 receptions for 51 yards at 17 yards a pop. So, again, that's sort of when Ingram was used a little bit less at the end of the season. J.K. was really ramping up, and they really wanted to see what they could get out of him. But yeah, I'm not sold on Melvin Gordon. I think he's a fumbling machine. I think his time in Denver showed what he could do, but probably won't do for an NFL offense. And Melvin Gordon feels more like a Ravens number 3 running back. He feels more like the guys that we picked up in 2021 when everybody else was injured. Like, he feels like a Bell. He feels like, you know, just some guy that was, otherwise he wouldn't be on a team, right? Or he'd be on a practice squad. And maybe that's the plan. Maybe he is going to be at the practice squad and we got to call him up each week or something. But Gus Edwards is a better running back. Justice Hill is a better football player. And J.K. Dobbins is better at everything than Melvin Gordon is. So really hoping that the Melvin Gordon situation is just a security protocol, but then I really hope that the J.K. Dobbins situation works out. So yeah, I'll probably do a separate video on the running back market, the running back position, and my opinions on it, because I have thought about this situation several times before all this stuff started to blow up, so I have my own thoughts on that. But yeah, so not including Melvin Gordon in these, I do have the min-max totals of the running backs. I think they probably get around 2,000 yards rushing again. I think they get probably close to 800 or 900 receiving yards, which may be a little high. It depends on how they're utilized, but I see anywhere between 13 to 17 rushing touchdowns and, probably 7 or 8 receiving touchdowns. But yeah, so that's the video. That's part 3. That wraps up the 2023 Offensive Weapons Projection Series. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye.